Okay, so now we're going to come down to the ground, and I like being on the ground for the breath. So this one, when you're doing it, it replicates how you would actually do it. Because for me personally, I would do 25 in the morning when I wake up. So it's a quick 5 minutes to incorporate throughout your day. So this is something you do every single day. And you can add in as well the core activation within the breathing. So tomorrow we will talk about core activation. What does that mean? What does that mean to activate the core? So we'll go into detail in that in the video tomorrow. So for today, we're going to come down on the ground, laying flat on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor, hands on the floor. Actually, you can use your hands to feel and landmark what we do. So one thing we're going to do is I want you to look at just the form you have on the ground, because that's actually really important on having a better breath control. So if you notice that your arch is really high up and you have tons of space under there, that's not good. You're not going to be able to activate your core as well as having optimal breathing. So what you want to do, you don't want to push all the way into the ground. You just want to have a neutral spine. So we'll go into the video tomorrow about core activation and finding the center to activate the core. So what I want you to do is just make sure you're not too arched or you're not too far into the ground. It feels it's slightly tucked under, just a little bit. There is a little bit of space, but not a whole lot. Okay, so ribs down, back flat, and we're going to take that breath in. Again, I'm just going to landmark the sides of my ribs because that's where I want to focus my breath. So again, you're going to take a breath in, and if you close your eyes, I feel like you can imagine what's happening a lot better than having your eyes open and responding to other stimulus. So close your eyes and take that breath in through the nose. And again, picture that breath coming in through the nose, down through the throat, and then filling the bottom of the lungs and then expanding as that breath fills up the lungs. Okay, so take a breath in. So these breaths are meant to be in control. So when you're taking that breath in, I don't want you taking the breath to the maximum capacity of like straining. So you don't want to be like to try to get a bigger breath. So the breath that I want you to do is slow, controlled, and filling from the bottom of the lungs all the way up. So again, we adjust those shoulders because I have really, really tight trap muscles. So that's these muscles that tend to hold stress, and a lot of us have neck issues from injuries or car accidents, even myself included. So when something isn't right, it travels up the kinetic chain. So your sore neck could actually be affecting your hips, it could be affecting your knees, and it could be affecting just your foot posture. So it's a lot, but if we can have optimal form and optimal performance and technique throughout all the exercises. We're doing the best that we can with what we have. And my body can speak volumes to injury and recovery and still recovering. So being able to have these skills of just the basic movements of all the way down to breathing. When I first started training, I never thought I would be teaching people how to breathe, but it's actually super important to what we do every day. So it's important in our day-to-day living, in our workouts. So how this translates over, hold on, let me just. So how the breathing translates over into the workouts is what we're really going to be focusing on. Is when, let's say, we're doing a pull, okay? So I have bands in my hands, just imagine. So when you want to take that breath, breath is power. So the way I imagine it is if you're driving a car and you want to go, you press on the gas. So imagine that gas pedal being activated through the breath and the exhaust being the actual breath. So when you push down on the gas pedal, that's and you're going. So when you take a breath in, imagine that's you getting ready, and then exhaling, you're going. So again, imagine I have the band in my hand and taking a breath in. You want the breath activated through the hardest part of the movement. So it's usually when you, like if you have weights in your hands and you're lifting overhead, you want that breath to help propel those weights up. Okay, so when throughout any of the exercises, I want you to think about breath control. Having optimal breath control is really important because you're going to save energy when you're working out. So if you think about when you're doing jumping jacks or cardio or something and you're breathing shallow breaths, that actually exhausts you a lot more than it would if you had slower, controlled breathing. I taught this to myself because I have asthma and I'm a runner, and those two typically don't go hand in hand without me having to pack an inhaler around or struggling to breathe after my runs or during my runs. So what I really was determined to be able to run my whole run without having to struggle. And so that's where breath control came into play, and that's where I started doing my research and learning about how actually vital and important breath control is for working out. Mind you, it's so important just for everyday living. So if we are not exhausting ourselves with improper breathing just day to day, that little bit of energy will save you a little bit more energy throughout the day. And who wants more energy throughout the day? I do. So I think we all can relate that having more energy throughout the day is gonna do us good. So when we're doing those breaths, so the ones on the ground, you can notice the difference between the two. When you're standing, you are engaging other muscles that come into play through the breath. So when we're laying on the ground, we're actually eliminating other muscles activating. So it is optimal that you do this on the floor. Standing, I was just showing you different ways of that breath can happen. Obviously, because you stand and you breathe. But to have full engagement and just the focus being on that breath, lying down. So again, you can do this every single day. I would suggest doing it in the morning when you first wake up. You'll notice it'll give you a little bit of a, okay, I'm awake. And then reversely, when you go to bed, so you can do another set of 10 to 25, depending on how many you want to do. It does take a little bit of time, 5 minutes kind of time. So if you do it in the morning when you first wake up, and if you do both at night when you go to bed, actually when you do the breaths at night, I feel it relaxes you and it sets you in a better, getting you ready to fall asleep. So that's 2 things that you can do. So that breath control is super, super important. If you have any questions about the breathing, feel free to send me a message or record yourself breathing. And it's not a whole lot you can fix if you're following the cues and you still notice that, oh, my shoulders are still lifting through the breath. That's okay. It's going to be normal, and that's the way it's going to be for a little while. You won't notice significant changes with the breathing because it has to be a conscious effort right now until it becomes an unconscious effort. So it's a learned skill. So the more you do it throughout the day, the more it'll become part of your habit. It become how you breathe. So if you're sitting watching TV, just think about your posture, shoulders down, ribs flaring out first through that inhale. So they don't have to be deep breaths either. So when you're breathing normally, just think about that lower ribs. And that's using more lung capacity, which it will benefit through workouts. So when you're working out and you have optimal breath control, you're not puffing and puffing and panting, then you're going to be able to exert more energy throughout the workout. So give that a try. Let me know how you did. If you have any questions, again, feel free to message me. But day 1. Get ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow's core activation. So we're going to tie the breathing into activating the core. It's going to feel a whole lot differently. So give this a try. I would say for today, do 2 rounds of 10 to 25 breaths. So you could break that up. So again, you could do it now and then do another set tonight or back to back. You don't want to overexhaust yourself in this because we are trying to activate smaller sleepy muscles that are not activating as much. So if you're overexhausting it, then it won't be very good either. So 10 to 25, 1 to 2 sets. So you break that up, that's totally fine. Or doing it back to back, but taking a little bit of a break in between. And then you can also do a workout. I've posted lots of full body workouts, so you can do one of those or wait for tomorrow's full body workout that we'll do after the core activation. So make sure you're drinking water. Write down in your logbook what workouts you did, how many sets and reps that you did. That's super important too, because that's a way to track progress. So not necessarily that, you're doing, one big thing is some people have goals of push-ups. So you want to be able to track, okay, I can do 1 full push-up with good form, but after that I can't. I have to drop down to my knees. So if my goal is to do more push-ups, then I want to be able to know how many push-ups that I can do with good form versus doing more reps with not so good form. And throughout all of our workouts, I encourage you to stop if you notice that your form is being compromised and do the modification version of it. I would rather you do less reps with good form than more reps with bad form, because that's not going to help you. When you do it with bad form, you're reverting back to older habits, and the new techniques and form will not be as part of your workouts. So try to do everything with good form. We'll have a video on form and technique through movements, through all of the exercises. So when I say good form, you know what I'm talking about right now. You're like, oh, good form, I'm doing it right. So yeah, well, there's another video on that. But for now, focus on those breaths through the lower part of the ribs. Again, you could feel where your rib cage is. And just place your hands on the side, lower. Don't push in, because that's gonna not help you either. Just place your hands here just so you can get a feel of what it feels like to have those lower ribs expand. When you actually connect your mind to that movement, you're creating a neural pathway. So you have sensors, essentially nerves coming down from your brain, actually through the spine to the brain, but it sends signals. Your body sends signals back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. So right now, if you're not breathing through the lower parts of your ribs, there is no signal from your brain to your ribs. So you need to create that pathway. And the more you do it, think about a trail. So if you're going through a trail, nobody has gone through there before. You'll see weeds up on grass and stuff growing. So the more you walk through, the more it creates a path. And if you walk that path every single day, it'll start to clear itself. Now you have a full path that you can walk down with no resistance. And that's the same thing that happens. That's when it becomes conscious versus unconscious. So when you create it as a habit, then that's how you're going to breathe from now on. So I'm guilty of being a shoulder breather because of my neck. So just having that conscious effort of shoulders down, breath through the ribs, and do that throughout the day. You can practice that breathing throughout all day today and within the exercises as well. So if you're going to be doing a full body workout or a workout on your own, just think about that breath. Just have that on the back of your mind every time you're doing something throughout the day today. So that's your homework. Focus on that breath and drink lots and lots of water and enjoy the day. Go out for a walk. Take big fresh breaths outside with a breath of fresh air. Have a good day, and I hope you guys stay safe and enjoy your time with the family. See you guys all tomorrow.